Hi, I'm Mushra, and this is the Chrysalis Wars card game tutorial video. A game where you accept the role of a core bearer to fight for what you cherish the most in a best of 3 turn-based gameplay, with the goal of dealing enough damage to your opponent's energy to shatter their core crystal, winning you the game. As you fight alongside your Nexian comrades to attack and defend yourself, and turn the tides of war with counter-strike and counter-burst abilities, discover the many realms of the Nexus and its hidden truths along the way. For more information on how to play and to find other players, stick around to the end of the video or click the link down below to get access to the official Discord server. Do note, however, only a handful of cards have art as of this moment, so please do be patient with that. Thank you very much. Anyways, let's begin your journey with how to build your very own deck, which consists of 1 core crystal, a 40 to 60 card main deck, and 0 to 10 card side deck, with all the cards being the same crystal type, or to put it simply, the same color. However, you can also play the white quartz cards in any deck unless your core crystal states otherwise. There are also 3 additional deck building rules that you must keep in mind when constructing your deck. The first of is that you can only have up to 4 cards with the same card name between both your main deck and your side deck. The card's name is indicated at the top of every card. Second is that you can only have up to 4 cards with the same unique name in your main deck. The unique name is indicated by double quotations in a card's name, so for example, you can only have up to 4 cards in your main deck with the double quotations Regulus in your main deck. Third and finally, you can only have up to 10 cards with the counterburst ability in your main deck, which is indicated by this blue icon. Now, let's go over the 6 different card types that comprise your deck, starting with the Nexians. Nexians are the monsters that you can attack and defend yourself with, or what you'll comprise most of your deck of. You can read the card by looking at the top of it for all of its key information, with at the very top being its name, its traits being right below it, its crystal type being to the left, and its card type being on the right. To the left of all that is its combat stats, which is attack power being indicated in red, its defense being indicated in blue, and the critical, which is how much damage it deals to the opponent's core crystal, being indicated in white. Then, looking at the bottom of the card, you'll see its flavor text, which can explain its lore, as well as its abilities directly below that. Next up are equips. You can equip these to a Nexian only 1 at a time to enhance your Nexian and give it extra combat abilities. Moving past that is casts, which are these game's spell cards. You can activate these by revealing them from your hand and discarding them to activate their abilities. These will enhance your overall game plan and can potentially get you out of sticky situations. The only difference is that whenever you're reading the flavor text, it's below the abilities. However, another type of cards that's similar to casts are your arenas. These function very much like casts, but when you play them to one of your 5 field areas on your field and it stays there as a permanent spell until otherwise it would leave the field by whatever means. Mixing it up even further, however, is enchants. Very much like arenas, you do play these to one of your 5 field areas, however, it becomes part of that field area itself. You can only have up to 1 enchant on each field area. This means that you can still play other arenas and Nexians on top of these enchant cards, and they modify those actual field areas to have additional abilities. Then, finally, is the Core Crystal, a special card you start the game with, granting you additional abilities and may have additional deck building rules, and when it takes enough damage and it becomes shattered, you lose the game. Now with that all out of the way, let's get started on how to actually play the game, starting with an overview of the playmat. Starting with the right of the playmat, you'll see your deck zone, which is where your main deck goes. Right below that is your shard pile, where cards go after they're used up or destroyed. To the left of the playmat is your energy zone, which are shields for your core crystal, as well as an additional resource for powerful effects. Right below that is your core zone, which is where your core crystal will go at the start of the game. In the middle of the field is your 5 field areas, which is where you play Nexians, arenas, and enchants. And in the very middle is a special zone called the Clash Zone, which is where you call cards from your hand to defend yourself against your opponent's attack by adding all of their defense together to whatever your card that is being attacked's defense to try and block your opponent's attack. However, you can also move a Nexian into the Clash Zone. If you do, it gets an additional critical. However, this means that you do lose out on the powerful ability called Counter Strikes, which is while these cards are in your hand, as long as their condition is met, you can reveal and discard them to counter whatever the situation says, which is a great way to try and stop your opponent without sacrificing many cards in hand to block a single attack. So do keep this in mind when trying to go on the offensive using a Nexian in your Clash Zone. Finally, your side deck will be placed off somewhere to the side and is only meant for switching cards in and out of your main deck between your best of 3 games. Try and counter your opponent's deck. With all that out of the way, let's get into the actual gameplay. So yeah, make my cut in here. So my laptop kind of did the Kermit of itself, and I unfortunately lost most of this video. Whenever I did move it over to my new computer, most of the beginning of the video was still intact, but there was just a lot of corrupted file and programming when it came to switching to the new version of stuff that I'm running on. And so unfortunately, I do not have the nice fancy edited cards sliding across the screen doing things like I originally had, and that kind of sucks. So here we are instead on Tabletop Simulator so that I can be lazy, because I don't feel like editing that stuff for 10 hours again. So here we are. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's get started in showing off how the gameplay actually flows. You'll begin by taking your 40 to 60 card main deck, putting it in your deck zone, and putting your core crystal off to the side. You'll also take your side deck, your 0 to 10 card side deck, and you'll just throw it off to the side as it's not actually part of the game state. It's only meant there for you to switch cards in and out of your main deck in between your best of 3 games. So then once your decks have been set and your core crystals have been turned face down, both players end up shuffling their decks and then taking the top 4 cards of their deck and putting it into their energy zone and drawing 5 cards. And do that on this side. And then, although I don't think I can actually have just a straight up revealed hand in Tabletop. For anyone who is watching this that knows how Tabletop works, is there a way for me to like do this so I can put these cards in like the hand up here so I don't have to have them sitting here? If so, please tell me. Thank you. I haven't been able to figure out how to. But you know, it might just be me being dumb. So yeah. So anyways, now both players have drawn their hands, their opening hands. They will decide who goes first through random method, probably dice roll, and the person who ends up winning that gets nice to take a good, nice look at their hand and decide if they want to go first or second. But for rounds 2 and 3 of your game, the person who lost the previous game after the hands are drawn are the ones that decide if they want to go first or second. So round 1, random method, rounds 2 and 3, decided by the loser. But now that, in this case, I'm going to go first on the red side to demonstrate stuff that's been decided, both players flip over their core crystal to begin the game. In which case, if they wish to be the anime cringe, I am the anime cringe, you may say, energize your soul. Just, it's fun. Just have a little bit of fun, you know, anime cringe in there. You can never go wrong with that. But, yeah, definitely just a fun little thing. Don't have to say it. Please don't feel inclined to say it. So yeah, now with the game officially started, we begin the very first turn of the game, starting with the first of 4 different phases that you go through each of them every turn, the charge phase. During the charge phase, you take all of your depleted cards on the field, which are horizontal cards, and you energize them, which is a vertical card. You then take the top card of your deck and put it into your energy. This is called a charge, and you draw 1. However, the person going first does not draw 1 on their very first turn, and obviously since neither player have anything to energize on their opening turn, you skip that part of the charge phase. So the person going first on their very first turn, only thing that they do during the charge phase is simply charge 1 from the top of their deck. Now with the charge phase completed, you proceed to the standby phase, which is the second of the 4 phases of the turn. During the standby phase, there's a few different things you can do, actually quite a few different things. So you can do them in any order you want, as many times as you want, as long as you are able to. So starting off first, you can start by playing in a Nexian from your hand to one of your 5 field areas. Any of them will be fine. You can also choose an equip card from your hand and equip it to a Nexian by placing it under the Nexian. But a Nexian can only have 1 card equipped at a given time. You can also play an arena card from your hand to one of your 5 field areas, as well as you can also move Nexians and arena cards to different field area slots. However, if you play a Nexian over a previously established Nexian or arena card, so either a Nexian or arena gets played over another Nexian or arena card, the previous card is simply sent to the shard pile. You can also play a enchant card from your hand to one of your 5 field areas, but whenever you do, it is actually locked to that field area and cannot move from it thus so. But it does end up becoming part of the field area, so you can actually play Nexians and arena cards over the enchant cards, and they can exist there. However, enchant cards are still considered a card on the field, so anything that specifically targets just cards in general on the field can still target and enchant. And the only other things that you can do, really, is move your Nexian into your clash zone and out of your clash zone once each. And then besides that, you can also activate standby phase abilities, which I don't know if I actually have any. Yeah, I don't have any to straight show off. Oh, here we go. You can activate standby phase abilities. So let's Tor, the Prince of Galeria here, his 4th and final ability has this green S to it. This means that it's activated during the standby phase, which says cost. Deplete this and one other Nexian you control to search your deck for one gold or silver Nexian and add to your hand. So if you activate a Nexian standby phase ability, you do have to activate it only while it's face up on the field. So standby phase abilities have to be resolved while the card is on the field during the standby phase for a Nexian. But if, let's say, you have a standby phase for a cast, you just simply reveal it from your hand during your standby phase to activate its ability, and it gets sent to your shard pile once it ends up resolving. And with that out of the way, that is all the different actions you can do during the standby phase. But do note that the person going first does actually get to attack once during their battle phase, which is the third phase we're about to go into. So I'm going to go ahead and play from my hand Seer of Flame, and I'm going to move him into my clash zone. Now, the reason you may want to move a Nexian into your clash zone is that while it's in there, as stated before, it does get an extra critical, which is the white number to the left. But that means you lose out on the ability to play counter-strike cards, such as Dawn of the Ice Age. It says when your opponent attacks, you can pay one energy and discard one to choose one Nexian your opponent controls and deplete it. So that means that you actually lose out on the ability to, let's say like this, stop an opponent's attack straight up if you do decide to move a Nexian into the clash zone to get that extra critical. So that is a balance you do have to maintain. However, Ruby is a deck in general that doesn't really care about counter strikes. They just want to throw stuff into the clash zone. So if you don't really want to have to think about it, just play Ruby, because they're just kind of like, I move forward, I slap you. So now with that, I end my standby phase, proceeding into the battle phase. And now that I'm in the battle phase, I can choose to attack either my opponent's core crystal or attack one of my opponent's Nexians on their front field area or their clash zone. Since there's nothing on their front field area to attack, I am simply going to attack their clash zone. Whenever you attack, you compare your Nexian's attack power, in this case it's the red number with 3,000, to the defending card's defense, which by default, core crystals have a defense of 0. So in this case, I have 3,000 attack power with 2 critical, coming at my opponent's core crystal of 0 defense. At this point, they enter into the defense step, in which case they may choose any number of cards from their hand that has a defense value and play it into the clash zone as a defending card. While they are defenders, you add all their defense together and compare their defense to the power of the card that's attacking. If the defense is higher than the attack power of the opposing card, the defense is successful. If they are even, the attacking side still ends up hitting. After you defend with cards, they are simply sent to your shard pile. But do note that while you do defend with a card, its card type is not treated as its actual card type. So let's say Seer of Flame here is a Nexian. When it's defending, it would not be treated as a Nexian, it'd be treated as a defender card type. And all their abilities are negated except for abilities that state that they are active while defending when you do defend with a defender. But at this point, my opponent does only have 5 cards in their opening hand, and to guard this, they would need to guard with 2 cards in order to stop this, which means they'd be losing out 2 cards in their opening hand. That really does not sound good. So instead, they're going to simply just let this attack through. Whenever your core crystal is hit, you reveal one at a time, 1 damage from the top of your energy for every damage you ended up taking. So, right here, I ended up revealing Lou the Captain Squire, add that to my hand. If it was a counter burst, I could activate its ability. Second check is Protect the Prince, another card that goes to my hand. Now that I've taken damage, I end up getting plus 1,000 defense until end of turn on my core crystal for each damage I ended up taking this turn. So now until end of turn, the core crystal's defense is 2,000 by default. Now this does mean that if I did have another attack coming in, it'd be a lot easier for him to defend. But since there's no other attack options for me to do, I simply end my turn, in which case you proceed to the end phase in the 4th and final phase of the turn. During the end phase, you resolve all until end of turn abilities, and then you reduce all your core crystals' bonus defense back down to 0. And once the end phase resolves, you pass over the turn to the opponent, which they start with their charge phase, in which case they would energize everything, charge, and draw. Now, do note that look at this. This is quite a interesting situation, because while I just deal 2 damage straight away on my first turn, my opponent now has 8 cards in their hand to attack with, and can attack as many times as they are able to. So unlike me, who went first, I could only attack once, now the person going second can attack as many times as they are able to. And since we are now done with the charge phase on this side, we proceed to the standby phase, in which case this side will end up playing out to our center field area, Lucius, the Fair Captain. To its left, they'll end up playing Nobu the Glorious, and to its right, they'll play Yubo the Magic Sword. In the back row, they'll end up playing Lu, the Captain Squire, and use its ability to deplete itself during the standby phase to choose one Lucius Nexian I control and either add it or search my deck for one Lucius Nexian and add it to my hand, or choose one Lucius Nexian I control and give it power plus 1000, which is exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to give the Lucius in the center power plus 1000. Now there's nothing else I want to do with these cards that are in my hand, so we are simply going to proceed to the battle phase. In which case, now he will attack with Nobu the Glorious. Nobu has 4000 attack power to my Seer of Flames 2000 defense. He's choosing to attack my Nexian to clear it out of the way. Whenever a Nexian would end up being hit, it is simply sent to the shard pile, and your core crystal does not take damage. However, when a Nexian is attacked, regardless, you can still enter to the defense step. So with his 4000 attack to my 2000 defense, if I had a 3000 defending card, I could defend with it in order to block the attack, raising my defense to 5000 compared to his 4000 attack. But I'm going to choose not to and just allow his attack to simply hit me. Now, he's going to be coming in with Yubo, the Magic Sword, for 3000 power and 1 critical. I could go with a total of 4000 power or 4000 defense in order to block this, but I'd rather not lose 2 cards from a low hand like this, so I'm simply going to take the first damage. Revealing the damage, it's added to my hand, and since I took a damage, that means that my core crystal now gets a 1000 defense for each damage I've taken this turn. And then here he comes with Lucius, the Fair Captain. Lucius, the Fair Captain, says, while in my center front field area, if I control 2 other gold or silver Nexians, he gets power plus 2000 and critical plus 1, which plus the extra plus 1000 from Lu means that he's coming in for 6000 attack power and 2 critical. I'll end up taking both of these as well, with the first check revealing a counter burst. So when you reveal a counter burst card, you can, instead of adding it to your hand, discard it to activate its counter burst ability. In which case, this one says, choose one Nexian I control until end of turn gets defense plus 1000 and intercept. But since there's no Nexian on my field to activate and give that ability to, I'm simply going to move it to my hand. And with the second check, there is no counter burst, so it also just simply goes to my hand. And since I took an additional 2 damage, my core crystal's defense is now 3000 until end of turn. At this point, you simply go back and forth doing these things, where at the start of my turn, I'd energize anything I'd have, charge and draw, proceed to my standby phase, in which case I would decide to make out my field, and choose how I want to attack. However, it is also important to notice that you can only have up to 3 Nexians in total between your front field area and your clash zone. So if I want to move a card into my clash zone to get the extra critical, I can only have 3 in total, limiting to 3 normal attacks per turn. If for whatever reason a 4th or more card does enter into the combination of these 3 slots, just simply choose Nexians until there's only 3 in total left from your front field areas and send them to your shard pile. And now with that said, I make my field, decide how I want to set it up, and I can choose to go on ahead and attack my opponent if I wish. And at this point, we simply take turns going back and forth, either attacking our opponent's Nexians to limit the amount of cards they have at the moment, or attacking their core crystal, adding more cards to their hand, but getting them closer to death. And whenever they get close, whenever their core crystal would take damage while there's no cards in their energy zone, it shatters and they lose the game. However, you do have to deal damage to them while they had no cards in their energy zone to begin with. So let's say they have 1 energy, and I attack with this 2 critical attack. They take the first damage, and the second damage just ends up whiffing, because I have to deal them a damage while there was already none there. But now the next attack, if it came in and hit, would end up winning the game. And with that, that is the basics of the game out of the way. The only other thing I really want to go over is the different ability types, which you can reference at any time here in this quick guide by popping it up and proceeding through the different pages here that tell you about all the different card information and how to read them and how the playmat works. The only thing that is currently missing from this book specifically that has been recently added is the fact that it doesn't state to actually reveal your damage checks. Before, they just went to hand, but then someone in the playtesting said you probably should make them reveal so that people can't cheat and add it to the hand and then discard a counter burst that's already in their hand, which is extremely fair, and I completely understand. But with that being said, let's go over the different ability types real quick as we will end up seeing them. So here's the different ability type icons. So first you have the blue one, which is activated. As long as this condition is met and the cost is paid, you can activate the ability. The M means as long as the condition is met, you must activate the ability. The C means as long as the condition is met, is continuously active. S, once again, means that you perform this from your hand or field, but only during your standby phase, as long as the condition is met and the cost is paid. Counter-strikes can be used at any time as long as the condition is met and the cost is paid, but you cannot use this if you have an Nexian in your class shown getting an extra critical. A counterburst is activated whenever you would add it to your hand from a damage check by discarding it instead of adding it to your hand. And then other icons is the cost icon, which refers to any cost you do have to pay. The class shown icon, which obviously refers to the class shown on the field. The diamond shape is the critical of your Nexian, if you see that in abilities, as well as this black square refers to a special icon where things such as keywords or play costs will end up being seen, as well as special deck building restrictions that some cards may end up having. And then also you can go down further and you get more keywords and terminology in this. Definitely going to need to update this a bit, but definitely check out this guide, which I'll also have linked down below in a PDF if you do not want to download Tabletop right now. But speaking of downloading Tabletop, I do have links down below to Tabletop Simulator, as well as, of course, the Discord. Go join the Discord. But also I have links to this page in general. So how you end up accessing this table is that whenever you click on the link that specifically says Chrysalis Wars, it'll take you to a web page like this, in which case you just simply scroll down and click subscribe whenever you go to open up Tabletop. And when you go to open up your Tabletop games, once you click game up here, you'll see the workshop tag, in which case you just click on the tile and click load. If you do not see it, just simply open up the entire workshop panel and it'll give you all the different things that you have currently subscribed to in your workshop. Anyways, I want to thank you guys so much once again for watching. I know it's probably going to be like a 20, maybe pushing 30-minute video, but probably about a 20-minute video. If you have any more questions, once again, please join the Discord or comment down below. I'm going to definitely be pushing as much playtesting as I can, because I really want to try to get the first 4 to 5 sets done, like all the actual card design completely finished out, and then I'm going to start trying to raise money to get all the art done, starting of course with set 1 art, so that I can get that out and start trying to get that rolling. But yeah, I just want to make sure that I have a good like year's worth of sets perfectly planned out before I even attempt to try and sell the game and spend buku amounts of money trying to get art together. So yeah, that is all I wanted to show off, and because I can't ever go out of my way to actually close out videos properly, I'm gonna just leave it there and have fun. See you guys later, hopefully in the Discord. Join the Discord.
That sign can't stop me because I can read.